Hey, fool, you ready for another beating? You should have never came back.
Don't look at me.
Let's just be cool. Hey, boy. Hey, boy. After I crucify him, you next.
Just stay out of my face, chump.
Don't turn your back on me, sucker.
We got a problem before the bell. A fellow and Corbin are throwing each other right now. This thing is ready to explode. The fight about to officially begin, but these guys want to start right now.
Come on, let me go, let me go. That's what I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. Let him go. Right now. Let him go. I want him. I thought you said be cool. That was cool.
Two former heavyweight champions, Rocky Balboa and Apollo Creed, in the ring once again. They're on the same side this time, and Rocky III, one of 4 new movies we'll be reviewing this week on Sneak Previews. And across the aisle from me, Gene Siskel, film critic of the Chicago Tribune.
And this is Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times. Now, in addition to Rocky III, which is already setting box office records across the country, we'll also be reviewing 2 eagerly awaited films from producer Steven Spielberg. The first is Poltergeist, a ghost story set in a modern suburban home, and E.T., the Extra Terrestrial, set in another suburban split level. This time, not visited by a ghost, but by a little outer space creature. But before all that excitement in suburbia, Roger begins with Steve Martin's new picture, Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid.
Well, this movie is a satire on private eye movies, which became really popular after the Maltese Falcon in 1941, and they were big all through the 1940s. In fact, sometimes it seems like they've never been gone. Each year we get a couple of remakes, tributes, satires, or modernizations of private eye movies. But in Steve Martin's new comedy, Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, satire and tribute aren't enough. We even see actual scenes from old Hollywood detective classics, scenes that put Martin right in there with stars like Humphrey Bogart. The movie opens, as a lot of private eye movies open, with a hero narrating his own story, and here's Martin as private detective Rigby Reardon waiting in his office for his next case. The movie's in black and white.
It was a quiet day at the Rigby Reardon Detective Agency. I had a hangover and business was so slow I was rereading old newspapers. I was even thinking of closing up the office for a few days, when all of a sudden...
Mr. Reardon?
That's right.
My name?
In all my years in the business, I'd never seen anything like her.
That's Rachel Ward as the faint-hearted client. You might remember her from Sharky's Machine, Burt Reynolds' last picture. She hires Steve Martin to investigate the death of her father, and he plunges into a labyrinth of clues, characters, false leads, and ambushes. And he also plunges into actual old movies. What the film does is take scenes from old movies, real movies involving famous stars, and then intercut Steve Martin with the old footage. For example, they might have a shot of Humphrey Bogart, another shot showing Martin looking like he's talking to Bogart. It's pretty convincing sometimes. In this scene, for example, Martin plays opposite Burt Lancaster in The Killers, a movie made in 1946.
Swede wasn't living in luxury. As a matter of fact, for a moment, I thought he wasn't living at all. Swede? Sorry, Swede, I thought you had been murdered. Come on, wake up. Come on, Swede. You need a cup of my Java.
Good bit.
One thing in old Private Eye movies, they always believed you could take care of anything with a jolt of black coffee.
Or a gun. Yeah.
Or a gun, or a shot of whiskey, right? Or a pretty dame. The method of cutting back and forth between Steve Martin and the old movies in this movie is fairly well done on the editing level. It sometimes really does look as if Martin is right there in scenes with actors like Burt Lancaster, Humphrey Bogart, Ingrid Bergman, Lana Turner, Veronica Lake, and on, Jimmy Cagney. But the result isn't always very effective. There's a curiously flat quality as they cut back and forth between Martin's new dialogue and lines that were first said 30 or 40 years ago. The dialogue doesn't have the timing and toughness of real-life conversational give and take. Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid was an interesting idea, I guess. It might have made a good short subject, but as an approach to a full-length motion picture, it gets awfully long, slow, and repetitive. It does have some funny moments. I think I laughed out loud 3 or 4 times, but basically a real long movie based on a real small idea.
I think so, too. This is one of those things where you got the feeling that two guys got together and said, wouldn't it be cute if we did this? And what they really should have done is, why don't we come up with a very good story before we start to get tricky with the little gimmicks? The story here, we don't care whether the murder is solved, and I don't think that anybody in the film seems to care. Then they wind up with switching into some crazy and fairly tired old Nazi bit jokes. They needed an actual mystery story.
Let me clear this up now. It's not so much that you want a story so that we can find out what the solution is, but you want a story so it doesn't seem as if all the clips from old movies are just thrown in as a gimmick.
Yeah, I mean, and also thrown in at random, basically, I think, from the library of Universal Pictures, which produced the film. I don't think that... also, I must say, I sort of got to resent. When I saw the old clips, I thought how marvelous the old actors were, Bogart, Cagney, and Alan Ladd. And then I thought, I'm looking at this new stuff, and I'm thinking, this doesn't hold a candle to the old stuff, and I sort of begin to resent almost the use of the old material, as if they want to have what they call borrowed interest.
You know, Steve Martin has made The Jerk, Pennies from Heaven, now this movie.
All gimmick films.
He still hasn't made a film that really makes use of his comic talent.
I agree with you. Our next movie is Rocky III, and you can probably guess the titles of the 2 pictures that came before it. How does this one rank with the other 2 Rocky films? It's not as good. There's nothing new in this picture, and some of the most interesting personal relationships in the familiar world of Rocky Balboa are ignored. This story, this time, is an awful lot like the beginning of Rocky II. Rocky, played by Sylvester Stallone, of course, has gotten fat and lazy because as heavyweight champion, he's been fighting a bunch of pushovers with his manager, Mickey Burgess Meredith, consciously ducking the most obvious challenger in the land, a tough guy with a mohawk haircut called Clubber Lang.
Get out while you can. Don't get this sucker no statue. Give him guts. I told you I wasn't going away. You got your shot. Now give me mine.
Why don't you get the hell out of there?
Shut up, old man. I ain't going nowhere. And why don't you tell all these nice folks why you've been ducking me? Politics, man. This country wants to keep me down. Keep everybody weak. They don't want a man like me to have the title because I'm not a puppet like that fool up there.
You know, you got a big mouth, you know?
Why don't you come out and close it, Balboa? Come on. Come on.
This guy's crazy. Don't listen to him.
The little man don't want to come to me. Then I'll come to you people and lay out the truth. I am ranked #1. One! That means I'm the best. But this bum been taking the easy matches, fighting other bums. I'm telling you and everybody here, I'll fight him anywhere, anytime, for nothing. But you people ain't never gonna see it happen because he's gonna retire. You see, he don't fight no real man. He fight them setups.
What? You're a disgrace to this sport.
Shut up, old man. You and that chump don't know where to come from. Balboa, your family doing real nice, ain't it? You call yourself a fighter? Prove it now. Give me that same chance. The way you've been ducking is a disgrace. If he ain't no coward, why don't he fight me then?
I can't listen any more of this. Hey, anytime. I don't care what your rank. You don't get no shot, and I mean that.
I'm glad you people are seeing this here.
What are you doing? I want to fight this guy. Well, you got him. But you'll fight him without me. What are you saying? It's finished. Yes, I'm finished. I don't want no more of this. I don't want no more. You understand? None of it.
Of course, the film has a rousing fight to conclude the picture, but before that final fight, I found myself bored by a lot of what was going on. There was no continuation of the interesting and developing love story between Rocky and his wife that was so good in the other pictures. And I didn't particularly enjoy seeing Rocky go after another loudmouth black fighter. That seemed to be pandering to anybody that has racist feelings in the audience. And frankly, I didn't find Rocky's character as warm and as appealing as I did in the early pictures. What's missing, I think, is the colorful writing of the first 2 films, although Rocky III, like the others, was written by Sylvester Stallone. And so what we have in Rocky III is just another brutal fight. It's not a bad film, just a tired and loud one.
I kind of agree with you. I did enjoy the fight. I suppose it's brutal. All fights are brutal. The last two pictures, which you liked, ended in brutal fights,
Yeah,
too.
that's okay.
And that's entertaining. But what I missed here was Rocky.
Yes.
Rocky, this kid from the original picture with the colorful way of talking and the funny lifestyle.
Right.
The turtles named Cuff and Link.
Right.
His shy, little bashful way of approaching Adrian and asking her for a kiss.
But funny.
All that's gone. It's
Yeah.
funny.
Yes.
And warm. And all of that is gone. And Rocky is just kind of a loudmouth, and he's lost all of his human dimension, and the human relationships in the picture are missing.
Yeah.
Adrian isn't even around at the end of the big fight.
If I had Stallone here, I would say, why did you just write about yourself? I mean, why Rocky character? Why not Rocky and all of his connections with the people? They're just cardboard figures up here anymore. I wonder if he couldn't get the actors to do bigger roles. Maybe they're tired of the series and he's going it on his own.
I doubt if that's the case. I think he wrote it this way. Another thing you mentioned was Carl Weathers as Apollo Creed. I agree. It's
Excellent.
a good performance.
Yes, he's always good in this
Best
series.
thing in this movie, but let me ask you this question. Why did they change Apollo Creed? In the original picture, he was a loudmouth, grandiose, colorful, jive-talking, and smart Muhammad Ali type. Now he's turned into this noble, pious, inspirational, serious, thoughtful guy.
I know why.
Wouldn't it have been more fun to have Apollo Creed as he used to be, still working with this white guy and trying to teach him how to fight?
I think they did it to hedge the bets because they had one loudmouth black, so now they got to get the noble black. And I think that's where this racism thing comes into play, and I think they made a big mistake.
Well, I'm not sure this is racist, but I agree with you basically on the fact that the movie doesn't work as well as the
That's
first
a much
two.
more important issue.
Our next film is Steven Spielberg's new horror movie, Poltergeist, and the movie has some shockingly effective scenes, very violent and very slick, using the latest special effects technology. But it works best, I think, when it only suggests the terrible things that exist just beyond the boundaries of everyday life. Early in the film, for example, a little girl in a typical suburban home calmly announces to her parents that she's in touch with the television people. Well, who are the television people? Well, naturally, they're the people who live in the TV set when it's tuned to an empty channel.
What do you look like? Talk loud, I can't hear you. 5. Yes. Yes. I don't know. I don't know. They're here.
They're here, and they really are there, too. They cause a lot of trouble for this family. Later in the film, the family becomes completely dominated by evil spirits, which possess the house and kidnap that little girl and take her off through her bedroom closet into another dimension. The family calls in a professional psychic who tries to explain where the missing girl was taken to and why.
To her, it simply is another child. To us, it is the beast. Now let's go get your daughter.
So the mother enters another dimension to save her child.
I got it!
No, let me!
You can't! Who's strong enough to stay up here and hold the rope?
I guess the idea is that the TV people or the spirits in possession of this house have occupied that closet and it's in the fourth dimension, so you can kind of go through it and come out through the living room ceiling. The whole last half of this movie is filled with effects like that as evil spirits play games with the family's sanity. Well, why are these spirits so disturbed? Turns out the real bad guys in Poltergeist are the same villains Steven Spielberg used in his hit movie Jaws, the local real estate developers. This time, instead of telling people it's safe to go back in the water, they've been up to other dirty tricks. I'm not even going to tell you what they did, but they shouldn't have. The whole movie is just that silly, and we never do find out if a real poltergeist was involved in the strange events in that haunted house, but Poltergeist is a good summer thriller with good special effects. It's not a great movie. I give it kind of a moderate recommendation.
Our first disagreement. I feel so bad about this picture that I think that I'm starting to like Rocky III a little bit more.
Really?
I felt that this film wasn't scary except for one door closing and the little childhood fears of being in the dark at night, and that's at the very beginning of the picture. Then all this mumbo-jumbo about spectral light, afterlife. I felt that I was not too far from that garbage movie we once made a Dog of the Week, Beyond and Back.
Beyond and Back.
I thought that this, Roger, you just tried to give an explanation, you know, with something in the closet. I never understood it. I haven't talked to a single person that could tell me what is going on in this
I'll meet you after the show. All I have to say is I think the movie works as entertainment. It's not great. It's okay. I'll tell you one thing, though, that I would like to make, and this is probably an important point. This movie is about a little girl who finds out that the toys in her bedroom are going to try to strangle her, that people are in her bedroom closet and going to pull her out of bed and take her away from Mommy and Daddy. This is a PG-rated film. I think for young kids it's too strong. If I had seen this movie when I was 7, I would have been afraid to go to bed until I was 12.
I think it's probably too strong for young people, but I don't think that they should even bother with it. I think there's a better film, much better films around this summer. I think that this
Including
film...
the next film we're
well,
going to
think this is... I really think that this is, and I think when you say it's good special effects, I'm going to accuse you of something, which is being intimidated by special effects. Anybody can do these special effects now, and this doesn't have a convincing story at all.
Just because anyone can do it doesn't mean they aren't done well. The whole point is the next movie. Why don't you get to the next one? It's got better special effects.
And a story and characters. Our next film is one of the year's most eagerly awaited pictures. It's E.T., the Extra Terrestrial. And good news, this one is worth the wait. If you love the ending of Close Encounters of the Third Kind with that touching scene of Richard Dreyfuss and the friendly but sort of wistful outer space creature, then you should enjoy E.T., which expands the essence of that wonderful scene into the full story now of a little boy in a suburban town who befriends an ugly little outer space creature who was left behind when his spaceship took off. The little boy first spots the creature in the tool shed in his backyard, but when he tells his mother and brother and sister and their friends about what he's seen, they don't believe him. One tip, if you look very carefully at the end of this scene, you'll just be able to make out a couple of long fingers belonging to the creature.
All right. Where's the pizza?
Mom, there's some out there. It's in the tool shed. It threw the ball at me. Nobody go out there.
Stop now. You guys stay right here.
You stay here, Mom. We'll check it out.
And put those knives back. Okay, Elliot. Get the flashlight. Hold it. Wait a minute. Creepy. What exactly did you see? There's nothing in here.
The gate's open. Look at these. Coyotes come back again, Mom.
Okay, party's over. Everybody back inside. Now, hurry up. Hurry up. Tyler, give me that knife.
Oh, great. Nice one, Elliot.
It was an accident.
A pizza. Who said you guys could order a pizza, huh?
Him.
But in the house.
You geek, man.
But Mom, it was real nice for her.
Douchebag, Elliot.
Don't douchebag talk in my house.
Well, that's the only scene with the creature that we could get from the film's distributor. I really don't like how they play hide and seek with these special effects and creatures. But pictures of this creature have been published in both Time and Newsweek magazines, and here is the Newsweek photo. The film's director, Steven Spielberg, has said that he made the eyes of this creature as sort of a cross between Carl Sandburg and Ernest Hemingway. I hope he didn't pick one eye of each. But back to the movie. Once the little boy hides the creature in his bedroom and shares his secret with his brother and sister in a wonderful scene, the word begins to leak out that the kids may have the creature, which was spotted at the very beginning of the film by some local townspeople. So now the government begins spying on the kids' house, while the kids themselves are more concerned about the health of the little space creature that very much wants to go home.
Oh, Elliot. He doesn't look too good anymore.
Don't say that. We're fine.
What's all this we stuff? You say we all the time now. Really, Elliot, I think you might be getting kind of sick.
Look, he's fine, Mike.
Okay, okay.
Good kids, bad government. In a word, E.T. is charming, certain to delight young people. I think the secret of this film's success is that it supplies a quality that has been missing from most American movies of late, the emotion of love. A little boy's love for a creature is certainly not an original idea. It's not that much different from A Boy and His Dog, longtime movie staple. But this movie revives that idea, which has been trashed or ignored by most recent American movies. And so, as we cheer E.T. and get caught up in this wondrous relationship between the boy and the creature, what we're really cheering for is a return of love to the movies. Yeah, I believe that. E.T. the Extra Terrestrial is very sweet and a timeless movie.
This is the kind of movie that makes movie critics talk the way you were just talking. I talk the same way. It makes your heart beat a little faster. It brings a tear to your eye. When I saw this movie, I felt the way that I'm sure people felt when they saw Wizard of Oz for the first time. I felt as if I had been introduced to a magical movie, a movie that's going to last for years and years and years and be treasured by one generation after the next. It's a great film.
Well, I just was entranced by it. I'm also there, sitting there as a critic and thinking, isn't it amazing that such a simple idea can work so well? And that's why I did my little analysis with what made this simple. I mean, you have to admit this is not a complicated story.
Not exactly.
You got the bad government agents, and I thought sort of ham-handedly they shoot them with key, you know, have keys on their belt and all this stuff. And even that scene there, it's not a very complicated thing, but boy, the power of that emotion carries this
And
whole
I'll tell
movie.
you, one of the reasons this movie works is because of special effects. Now, you accuse me of being intimidated by special effects, which I think is totally unfair, because in this film, what you have is a relationship between a person and special effects. It's magical. And, you know, in the last 3 or 4 years, one thing that's been missing in movies is love relationships.
Okay.
And here we have this creature that comes right out of a special effects workshop. It's human, in a sense. It's certainly sentient. We like it. We love it. The kid likes it. There's a relationship.
Yeah.
It's very moving. So if I'm intimidated by these special effects, I plead guilty.
No. What you are entranced with is the same thing I am, which is love. And the special effects, so what? It's love there.
Okay, I'll say it. You're right. It's love.
Well, here's Sparky the Wonder Dog reminding us it's time to get away from a little love and move on to Dog of the Week, a little hate, the week's worst movies.
It's too bad after that great E.T. review to have to talk about this, but my dog this week is Fighting Back. It's an ambitious movie that tries to deal with a serious theme and fails completely. The movie stars Tom Skerritt as an Italian-American delicatessen owner in Philadelphia who gets fed up with the crime rates in his neighborhood and organizes a freelance citizens vigilante patrol. Patrol operates completely outside the law, making raids on pool halls and slamming people, mostly black people, around with baseball bats. But somehow they don't get into trouble with the cops, and Skerritt turns into a media hero. He even thinks about running for office. Fighting Back makes a certain effort to show real people in actual locations, but its story is a complete fantasy. This is Law and Order wish fulfillment, and the movie's especially unconvincing when it tries to avoid suggesting that Skerritt is a racist by always including a few white members in the black gangs that he's attacking. You bet. Something tells me that any big city neighborhood where the street gangs are integrated may not have that many problems.
My Dog this week is another major movie. You see, they always say, well, we're tired of you guys knocking karate, so here's some major movies. Sean Connery globe-trotting as a TV anchor man in Wrong is Right. The story of a Walter Cronkite type who uncovers the biggest story of his life, the sale of atomic weapons to Arab radicals and the impending World War III that would result if one of those bombs goes off. This film is a crashing bore, except for the strange scenes that occur every 20 minutes or so when some pacifist blows herself or himself up in protest, and Connery is always there on the scene talking into the camera as if he owned the TV station. Wrong is Right says nothing new about television or terrorism that anyone who has been awake for the last decade doesn't already know, but it takes 2 full hours to say that nothing.
Now let's recap the main movies on this show. We both vote no for Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, the movie where Steve Martin plays a private eye and scenes lifted from old crime movies. The movie has a few funny moments, but once we get the basic idea, it just repeats itself. 2 more no votes on Rocky III, the 3rd chapter in Sylvester Stallone's saga of Rocky Balboa. The film is exciting and moves well, I thought, but instead of telling us more about Rocky the person, it's basically just a formula remake. We split on Poltergeist, the thriller about a suburban family's haunted house. Gene thought it was predictable and not scary. He votes no. I like the special effects. I wasn't intimidated by them. And I like the portrait of a family under fire. I vote yes. But we both agree on one thing, despite the PG rating, that this film is too extreme for younger children. Finally, 2 big yes votes for E.T., the Extra Terrestrial, Steven Spielberg's enchanting fantasy about a friendship between a little boy and a creature from outer space. This is one of the best films of recent years. A wonderful entertainment for all ages. We recommend it with a lot of enthusiasm.
Well, that's all for this week. Join us next time on Sneak Previews when we'll take a look at more new movies, including Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, another spin-off to the popular TV program. Also, Grease 2, a musical tribute to the high school class now of 1961. Until then, we'll see you at the movies.
Funding for Sneak Previews was provided by this station and by other public television stations.